Namaste, Hari Om. Welcome to Shevadhi channel. This particular video is on Pranayama 101 or basics of Pranayama. So this is going to give you some knowledge about what is Pranayama, what are some of the postures that we have to use when we sit for Pranayama, and what are the hand mudras, the hand gestures that we use when we do the pranayama, and what's the right time to do it, what exactly are the benefits that we get out of pranayama, and some of the terms that we use while doing pranayama. So what are the different types of pranayama that are there. So with this knowledge, when you take up any pranayama practice, then you will have that theoretic knowledge. So you know exactly when to do what. So you're not just blindly doing some breathing exercise. Okay, so that is the intent of this particular video. If any of your viewers already have knowledge about this, or if you don't want to learn more about the theory of it, just you can jump right into any other pranayama practice videos. So now let's take these points one by one. So to begin with, what is pranayama, right? So the very definition, just like when we look up a word in dictionary, we know the meaning, right? Just like that, the pranayama is a Sanskrita word. So pranasya ayama iti pranayama. Okay, ayama means expansion, or it also pranayama. So the pranayama or pranayama, right? So it is either we can have that meaning as prana is life force or life energy, and then ayama is the expansion or control or the regulation of the breath. Okay, so the pranayama is the exercise, the practice that gives you the power to control or expand or regulate your breath. Okay, and if you look at the if you already might know, like people who are interested in yoga shastra, the science of yoga, this is one of the limbs of yoga. Okay, just like asanas, pranayama is also considered to be as a wing or a limb of yoga, and it's like we have 8 limbs of yoga that we will come to in a separate video. So pranayama is a very important part of the science of yoga, and we know the definition now. And then you can ask, like, breathing is so kind of like a part of us, right? This is something that has to happen for us to be alive. So what is it about it? Like, what's the why do we need to control and observe and expand? What is the purpose of this pranayama? So that's a good question, because we take it for granted. We are like breathing and it's just happening without actually us paying attention to it. But what actually happens is, before we go into why we have to do it, let's understand the term respiratory rate. So what is this respiratory rate is, it's number of breaths per minute. Okay, the higher the number, the lesser the longevity. So the lifespan will become lesser if the number of breaths per minute or the respiratory rate is higher. So if you look around, for example, if you look at the animals, for example, dog, right, it has a very high breath rate. So maybe, like, I don't know the exact count, it's like 30 to 40 per breaths per minute. So the lifespan of a dog is what, 10 to 15 years maybe. So depending on whether it's a domesticated one or not. Then street dog might not live that long, but at home, with all the attention and care, it might live longer, but it has a higher breath rate. And mice, they have extremely high respiratory rate, like 60 all the way to 150 breaths per minute. They live for a short span. But when we come to human beings, the average breath rate is 12 to 16 breaths per minute. So if we maintain that, provided everything else is ideal, then the lifespan is considered to be between 70 to 80 years. So that's the lifespan. So now we understood, like, how the respiratory rate and the lifespan are related. Okay. And also you might have noticed when we are anxious or excited, our breath rate becomes very fast. So then, if you are like anxious and angry, we hear people saying, right, take a deep breath, right? So that is the thing that helps us in calming down. So that is the reason why we have to observe our breath. Okay, and most of the time we are not really aware of it. We are just doing the shallow breathing. Because of that, we are not using the lung capacity completely. We are just using a part of our lung. So any organ, just like any vehicle, if it is not used, the engine, if you just keep a car unused, let's say, the engine is going to fail, because just because it's not being used doesn't mean it's going to be okay. You have to take it out for a short drive. Otherwise, if you try to start it the next time, then there is a trouble getting it started, right? Just like that, in our system, if some part of our body remains unused or partially used, then that organ becomes weaker and unused, and so eventually it will be in a not in a good optimal working condition. So we don't want that to happen to our lungs. So we have to make sure that our lung is used properly. And when we have that shallow breathing, what happens is it will result in energy blockages, because it is not really flowing properly the entire body. So if you don't understand that, it will result in blockages, energy blockages. It could be in our brain or parts of the parts of the body. So it results in some diseases. Okay, so that's why the breathing is very, very important. And how do we pay attention to it? We have to make sure that we will come to it when we do the practice, but when we take the breath in, it has to actually go all the way down, and you should feel, when you are inhaling, you should feel the abdomen bloating up. When you exhale, the abdomen should go in. So that way you are actually doing a complete breath. You're taking, it's a deep breath, not like a shallow breathing, because when you're doing shallow breathing, you don't really feel your stomach moving in and out. So that you have to be really aware of. And how does it actually help? Because when you do that conscious breathing, you are taking the oxygen in and then expelling the carbon dioxide out. So that oxygen is needed for for various functions, for pretty much everything in our body, right? With the lack of oxygen means not a sufficient supply of energy inside, and it will affect all the it could be metabolism, or how the brain functions, how the mind functions. All these things get affected. And if the carbon dioxide is not expelled out completely, so the waste is actually getting trapped inside, that also leads to problems. And so that is why we have to pay attention to the breath, make it longer and deep. So that is the reason why we have to do that. And coming to is it just a breathing exercise? Then anybody can just sit and do the breathing, right? So what is special about pranayama? Pranayama, actually, it is considered as a bridge between the body and the mind. Okay, how is it? So let's come to the concept of nadis, or energy channels in our body. And also you might have heard of these chakras in our body, 7 chakras in our body. So the chakras are considered to be energy centers, and nadis are considered to be energy channels. So if the breathing is not balanced between the nadis, actually there are the nadis itself is a vast subject if you want to go into it. For the pranayama intro session, I'm going to mention the main 3 nadis. That is Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, and the Sushumna Nadi. Surya Nadi is nothing but the right nostril. When you take air in through the right nostril, that is the Surya Nadi. And then the left nostril is the Chandra Nadi, and Sushumna Nadi is the center. Okay. And if you notice the breath, you will see that sometimes when you feel the inhalation and exhalation, you will feel that one nostril is dominant over the other nostril. Okay, you would feel more air coming out of one nostril than the other. So, and automatically it switches between the nostrils throughout the day. and you have to make sure that the breath is normal between the Chandra Nadi, it is balanced between the Chandra Nadi and the Surya Nadi. So, and then, so you have to make sure that the air is, or the prana or the life force is moving through the Sushumna Nadi. That is the ideal thing. Then you can remain balanced. And that is how it helps in calming down the mind and nervous system. And then when you are making sure that the breath is balanced, then you are all the energy centers are unblocked. There is no blockage anywhere. So that means you and your body and mind will be in a healthy state. Okay, so that is how that is why pranayama is very important. And coming to some of the benefits, while I was explaining the points, you might have understood some of the benefits. But for completion's sake, I'm going to summarize some of the benefits. One is it makes the breath rate slower, which means it increases the lifespan. Other one is longer breath or deep breath means the oxygen intake will be more, and so the blood circulation improves, and the body organs will get better supply of oxygen, and blood circulation improves, and the exhalation is also done properly. That means the waste is getting expelled out of the body, and then it calms the mind down, the nervous system, right? And so it relieves the stress, anxiety, anger, and it addresses all the negative emotions. It helps in when practiced regularly and properly, it definitely helps in reducing the negative emotions, because emotions and then the any disturbances the mind eventually, if not checked right there, it actually results as a disease in the physical body. So that we have to make sure that is cut off right there. And also it helps in bridging the body and the mind, that we already talked about, and it helps in actually understanding removing the gap between the conscious and the unconscious mind. We think clearly and positively, that will have a very positive impact on our mind health as well. Now, and those are the benefits. Coming to another question that we tend to get is, what is the ratio of inhalation and exhalation? What should be the inhalation and exhalation ratio? So you have to make sure that exhalation is longer than inhalation. Why is that? Right? We have to understand why inhalation has to be exhalation has to be longer than inhalation. Because when we inhale, we are taking the oxygen in. When we exhale, the carbon dioxide is expelled out. So when we do that inhalation, exhalation is longer, because it should be longer, because we have to make sure that all the carbon dioxide is expelled out of our system completely. So that is why we say exhalation has to be longer. And what is the typical count? When you start the pranayama, for beginners, it is 1:2. Okay, inhale for 1 count and exhale for 2 counts. And as you make progress, you can increase it for 4 counts, 4 to 8. So inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 8 counts. And what is this inhalation and exhalation are called in Sanskrita? Is inhalation is puraka and exhalation is rechaka. Okay, puraka, rechaka. And there is another word that you might have heard of. It's called kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means retention of breath, holding the breath in. That we don't really recommend for beginners, because when you hold the breath in, we have to engage some locks in the body. There are some bandhas or locks. So that has to be done properly. If not done properly, it will result in actual problems, diseases. So we definitely don't recommend it for beginners, and also without proper guidance from a trained yoga instructor. Okay, so that is the puraka, rechaka and kumbhaka, and then the initial ratio of inhalation and exhalation. So as you keep practicing 4 to 8, and then you can keep increasing the inhalation and exhalation duration. Okay, and what else? There are different types of pranayamas. So just like anything, if the people actually, when they practice without proper knowledge, just assuming that is some exercise that I just do it. For example, I go gym, right, or I do aerobic exercise. Just like that, I know some people just pick up the asanas, their body is flexible, they just start doing any asana without knowing, some of the do's and don'ts. Just like that, pranayama also has some do's and don'ts. What happens, because these are actually having an influence on the energy channels and the chakras, and then how some of the body organs function. So if not done properly, it will actually result in a problem. And then people will say, oh, I did this pranayam, but I got this condition. How is it helping? So yoga is not right. So that is all misconception. If you understand what and how and do's and don'ts of it, then you won't get into that situation. So pranayama also has there are different types of pranayamas like Kapalabhati and Anulom Viloma, Nadi Shuddhi, Nadi Shodhana pranayama, and there are some set of cooling pranayamas, Shitali, Shitkari, Sadanta, and then there's Ujjayi pranayama, and then Brahmari pranayama, and all those different pranayamas. And so some of the pranayamas actually they do have some contraindications, and when you can do, when you shouldn't be doing it, on all those things. But one particular pranayama that you can do safely without actually doing the kumbhaka or the holding the breath, that is Nadi Shodhana, okay, or alternate nostril breathing or Anulom Vilom. That is the one that is safe for pretty much everybody, which can be done like pretty much all the time, because that is let's say that you're feeling very anxious or excited or worried, then you can just sit calm and cool, and then just sit in one place and just practice this Nadi Shodhi pranayama. Then it will definitely help you to calm down, because it balances the energy flow. And typically just like the common guidelines for pranayama, when to do is this is a generic instructions, not per type of pranayama. It is recommended that you do it in the morning time, early morning time, because the oxygen level is higher. So that is why we say, when we say, right, when you go for a walk in the morning, early mornings, it is recommended because oxygen is richer in the atmosphere. So that is why we say it is better. And also it is recommended that you do the pranayama practice after asanas or some form of warm-up. So that you have to keep in mind. And then you wear some loose, comfortable clothing. When you sit in any particular place for pranayama, then make sure that that place is well ventilated and it's clean. And avoid sitting in a place where there is air condition or fan, because that externally is affecting with your body temperature. Because when we do these asanas or pranayamas, that actually has an impact on our body temperature. We want that warming up and then the cooling down of the body to happen naturally during these practices. So don't let those external conditions interfere with the process, the natural process that is happening in the body due to yogic practices. And other things is, when you sit for pranayama, there are some postures that we sit in. These are called as meditative postures. Okay, so one is, as you know, it is Sukhasana, just on the cross-legged, or you can sit in Vajrasana, where you bend your knees and fold it and sit on your bent knees. That is one. That is Vajrasana. Or you can, if you are comfortable with Padmasana, you can sit in Padmasana as well. So Sukhasana is pretty much for everybody, it's very comfortable. You can sit in that. And for those who have undergone knee surgery or if they cannot sit down, it is okay. They can sit on a chair and do the pranayama. And the thing is, there are some hand gestures or the mudras, what we call, that we use while doing pranayam. There are, I will do a separate session on mudras, because even when you hold the mudras, there is a reason why we hold the mudras in a certain way. Okay, how it has an impact on us. And just for pranayama, this particular session, the commonly used hand gestures are This is actually where the index finger and thumb are touching each other. The tips are touching each other. Other three are straight. This is called Chin Mudra or Gnana Mudra. This is the one that we hold in the left hand and put it on our bent knee or the thigh. Okay, and then the other mudra that we use for closing the nostrils and opening the nostrils. This is called Nasika Mudra. Nasika in Sanskrita means nose. Okay, so Nasika Mudra is actually, as you can see, this is thumb is open and little finger and the ring finger are open, and the other two, middle and the index finger, are bent. And then when you're doing it, this will actually touch the the middle of your palm. Okay, and then you use the what you call the thumb to close and open the right nostril, and then the other two fingers, little finger and the ring finger, to close and open the left nostril. Okay, and when you are closing the nostril, don't do it here. Okay, what happens is you are not closing it properly. It should be actually pressing it here, so the breath is completely blocked. Okay, so just do that and then do this practice. Okay, then so that is the proper way to close and open the nostrils. So that is how we covered what is pranayama, what are the benefits and why we have to practice pranayama, what are some of the do's and don'ts, types of pranayamas, and then the sitting positions or the meditative postures that we use for pranayama and the mudras. One more thing is the just like when we begin the asana practice or any yogic practice, we begin with a prayer or hymn, right? Just like that, for pranayama, there is a shloka. Actually, it's a hymn taken from Prashnopanishad. Okay, and I'm going to recite that, and also I put the shloka in the description box and also on the video as a caption, so you can learn this mantra. So whenever we start a pranayama practice, then you can recite this. Okay. Hands in prayer position, close your eyes. Pranasyedam vashe sarvam tridive yat pratishtitam mateva putran rakshasva shrishcha pragnancha vidhehi naiti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the meaning of this shloka is Pranasyedam Vashet Sarvam, right? So the prana is the one that actually controls all the three worlds, because that is the life force, that's the energy, that's like the all-pervading energy, right? Just like how the mother takes care of her kids, please do take care of us and bless us with Shrishcha Pragnashcha. That means wealth and prosperity and knowledge. So wealth doesn't mean just the money aspect. The wealth in all aspects. It's the health is also wealth, and then our knowledge and everything. So that bless us with prosperity and knowledge. So that is we are actually praying the prana, that you being the controller of the entire universe, please do take care of us and bless us with wisdom and prosperity, just like how a mother takes care of her kids. So that is the prayer that we use for pranayama. So this is like providing you all with the foundation, because we need the theoretical knowledge to understand the concept of pranayama. And then in the next sessions, we will be taking up each type of pranayama one by one and covering it in detail. Okay, and hope you find this video on pranayama 101 useful, and always we welcome your comments and suggestions or input. Please do provide those in the comment section below. And as always, keep smiling, and sarve janaha sukhino bhavantu.